Okay. The next section we're going to do is going to combine Central and East Africa. Um, so let's start with Central Africa, like the book does. And Central Africa, and I'm going to come back. Maybe we can look at this map here. Maybe this is a fine map. Central Africa is this area right here. Okay, a little bit up here, but mostly this area of Africa here. This is rainforest Africa. This is, I want to do a safari in Africa, right? This is lions and giraffes and really, I mean, I've never been there myself, but truly amazing nature is in this part of Africa. And historically speaking, Europeans had never been able to get in there, right? The Europeans had been all around North Africa. My gosh, the Romans controlled North Africa for 500 years. The Europeans, the Spanish and Portuguese, had set up trading colonies all along West Africa. But they had never been able to get in here to Central Africa. Even South Africa had been explored and taken over by the Dutch and then eventually the English, but again, not Central Africa. And the reason is that this part of Africa is very forested, and it has a lot of malaria. Okay, malaria is a mosquito-borne disease, and Europeans would get in there. They would get bit by a mosquito. I don't know if you guys had the same experience I do, but there are these new, what are they calling them? Ankle biter mosquitoes that have moved into LA and into the San Fernando Valley. And I've been finding myself getting eaten up by mosquitoes in a way I never did growing up. My poor little baby girl with her little sensitive skin just gets these terrible reactions to mosquito bites, any bug bites. Sad. But it would kill them, right? Malaria would kill them. So they couldn't get in there. It was untouched land, unexplored land by Europeans. It was very tribal. Similar to what you might think of as parts of the Amazon rainforest today. Yeah, it's true. There are parts of the Amazon rainforest that have not yet been touched by the modern world, where people live in tribes like they did thousands of years ago, which is actually, I don't know, I think it's really cool that there are parts of the world that don't have this I don't know, that haven't been exploited by modernity, can I say? But I digress. So at some point here, right, mid 1800s, these explorers start trying to find their way into Central Africa along what's called the Congo River. And one guy named David Livingstone had made it in there. He had lived. I believe that there was a type of malaria drug that it didn't stop malaria, but it made the symptoms less bad. So now that there was this new medicine, he says, "Hey, I'm getting in there." Right? I think he was a doctor, and he posts up. He lives there for decades along the lake in the Congo in Central Africa, and then this newspaper reporter goes looking for him because he had heard about this legend of this guy who was exploring Africa, and he meets him. He actually runs into the guy, and he then goes back to England and says, "Hey, England, look, this land is beautiful and we could totally take it over now that we have this drug that's going to make it so you don't just die when you get malaria." And they say, "No, thanks." They had tried before, and it didn't work out well for them. So then he goes to Belgium, this little small speck of a country, Belgium, right? South of the Netherlands. Maybe these were partially the Dutch, but I think the Dutch are more like the Netherlands. And he asked the king, "Hey, do you want to take this land? I'm telling you, it's open." And he says yes. So now we see that the King Leopold, I believe is his name, of Belgium, sends his troops down. They go up the Congo River and they conquer Central Africa. And now Belgium has a pretty big chunk of Africa. This is maybe the only time we mention Belgium in this class. So shout out. Here's Belgium's turn to be talked about historically. And Central Africa has now been taken over by the Europeans. The last area in Africa to be taken over by the Europeans is East Africa. So let me pull my map up a little bigger once again. And this is the area we think of as East Africa. And this is the area where Germany is going to get involved. So Germany had kind of stayed out of the colony game. Remember, remember, Germany had just gotten its independence in 1871. So they didn't have that long-standing trading posts that they could then turn into colonies. But Otto von Bismarck, who you remember as being a really fantastic leader who helps unify Germany and strengthens Germany, Germany becomes this incredibly strong country under Bismarck. Bismarck's going to say, look, we got to get some colonies to win elections, right? What he means is because in the rest of Europe, they're getting colonies and they're bragging about it. And the Germans are like, hey, why don't we have colonies? I thought we were so powerful. I kind of thought we were the most powerful. Bismarck says, I'll get some colonies just to placate the people, right? To make the people happy. So he does. And this is the famous Berlin Conference. England wants some of these colonies, if you guys remember. And let me just pull up another map here. You guys know I'm big on maps. England wanted to have a railroad line from Egypt through the Sudan, all the way down here to South Africa, which England was controlling. So England says, hey, I want to take all of East Africa. But we're going to see that Germany says, oh no, we're going to get our hands on some of this land. Portugal had this land already from their previous trading colonies in the 1500s. But Germany kind of puts that break in the old English dream of creating one long railroad line. So in 1885, very end of this period, Germany had they called the Berlin Conference. England, come to Berlin and let's figure this out, right? And they agree how they're going to divide the land. And the irony, of course, of the moment is there's not a single East African there. So it's like, we can only imagine. I go and I talk to Mr. Deary, right? And I'm like, hey, Deary, you guys don't know this, but Deary is right across the hallway from me in the M building. And I say, hey, let's, how do you want to split up the E building? And he says, oh, you take the top floor and I'll take the bottom floor. I say, cool, I like the top floor of E better than the bottom floor of E. And all of the other people in E are like, but wait a minute, what about us? What, don't we have a say in what's happening? And we just ignore them. No one listens to those E people, right? We're M, we're powerful. Or something like that. So anyways, yeah, this is one of those moments that goes down in history as like disrespect towards the local population to the max.